Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Arya Muhaimin. I am from group 5. So in this video we will discuss about our material regarding to pragmatics and language teacher, genre and genre analysis. For me, I will explain the part of pragmatics and language teacher. So what is pragmatics? Pragmatics is a branch of linguistics that studies how meaning is constructed in the context. It is focusing on how the people use language in real-life communication. Unlike the grammar, which deals with the sentence structure, or the semantic, which is about the meaning of the words and the phrases, pragmatics is concerned with how the speaker and listener interpret the language based on the situation, relationship between speaker and listener, and also the information and knowledge that being shared. So there are several key aspects of pragmatics. In pragmatics, the context plays a crucial role in interpreting the meaning. Understanding the different types of context will help us, language learners, to use it appropriately in various situations. So there are three primary types of context that affect the language use. The first pragmatics aspect is physical context. This refers to the physical setting or environment in which the communication is occurs. The location and the surrounding objects can influence on how a statement is understood. For an example, in the restaurant, the statement is, "I'll have the chicken." It is understood as a placing an order, but in a cooking class, it could be referring to selecting the ingredient for a recipe. It is similarly to the statement, "It is cold in here." This could be the information that said by the speaker, or this could be the request to close a window if the situation in the room is hot or chilly. The second aspect of the pragmatics is social context. So the relationship between the speakers will heavily influence on how language is used and interpreted. The power dynamics, familiarity, and formality level all will contribute to the social context. I will with example of the power relation in this context. So, for a subordinate, it usually will use the statement, "Would you mind if I take a day off?" rather than "I'm taking a day off" to his or her boss in the company or in the job. So the third aspect of the pragmatics is cultural context. Cultural context will deeply affect the pragmatics language use. Different cultures have unique rules for the communication, interpretation of the language, and the politeness. So the cultures will diverge in the norm for interruption, silence, compliments, or refusals. For the example, in some cultures, a direct refusal might be considered to be rude. So people will use the indirect language to decline or refuse the offer without causing the offense. For example, "I'm not sure," or "I can check," instead of saying no. After the three aspects of the pragmatics, we have speaker intention. So what is speaker intention? In pragmatics, the speaker intention refers to the underlying meaning or purpose behind of what speaker says, that which might not always align with the literal meaning of their words. So, to understand the speaker intention, is crucial because much of the communication that occurs or happens will involve the implied meaning, tones, nonverbal cues, rather than just the words themselves. So to recognize the speaker intention, we could use the pragmatics cues, which is the voice or the tone. The tone often carries the speaker through intention, especially when the words themselves might be ambiguous. A sarcastic or a playful tone can completely change the meaning of the sentence or the statement. For the example, "Oh, great," said in an enthusiastic tone will be expressed the genuine excitement of the speaker. But if the tone is "Oh, great," said in a sarcastic tone could mean the opposite, expressing the frustration or disappointment. So recognizing the intention the tone will likely helps the student attention to know the tone, pitch, or the stress of patterns that use in a speech or the communication. After we know about the key aspect of pragmatics and the speaker intention, we will move to the language teacher roles in pragmatics. Language teacher plays a crucial role in helping the learners to develop the pragmatics competence, the ability to use the language appropriately in the different social contexts. So, unlike the grammar or vocabulary, pragmatics deals with the contextual meaning of the language, including the politeness, speaker intention, conversational rules, and how the meaning is conveyed through the nonverbal cues. To effectively teach the pragmatics, teachers need to focus on both explicit and implicit ways that language operates in real-life communication. So, we have some key roles of language teacher play in fostering the pragmatic competence. For the first one is to raising awareness of the pragmatic features. One of the most important roles of a language teacher is to make the learners aware of a pragmatic features of the language that they are learning. Many students might be competent in a grammar and vocabulary, but struggle to use the language appropriately in different social situations. So, teaching the difference between the culture will be likely the roles of the teacher in teaching the pragmatics. We know that the different culture will highly vary the cultures in the pragmatics. For example, in direct requests, this might be acceptable in some cultures, but might be preferred in direct or more polite form in any other cultures. Our roles as a language teacher is to make sure the student is aware of this cultural difference to help them prevent the misunderstanding in the real-world communication. For the example, in American English, a direct refusal like "no, I can't make it" might be fine. But in some Asian cultures, students might need to learn the softer refusal forms like "I'll have to check my schedule later." The second key roles that plays by the language teacher in teaching the pragmatics is creating the pragmatic learning opportunities. language teacher should provide the authentic learning experience where the student can practice and develop their pragmatic skill. The goal is to allow the student to interact in ways that will mimic real-life communication, situation, and scenario. So it could be done by several ways, such as role plays and simulation. Teacher can create the role plays activities that stimulate the real-world situation where the learners must practice the different mathematics functions, such as making polite requests, making polite refusing invitation, or making a polite apologizing. These activities will allow the student to experiment with the tone of politeness and directness in a safe environment. For example, the student role play will asking the direction in a formal setting. For example, to the police officer, and informal setting is talking to a peer. This will likely learn how the tone, vocabulary, and politeness ways will be used in different cases or situation. And other ways that could language teacher use is video example. With this, the language teacher can show the video of how native speakers engage in conversation and draw the attention to the pragmatics that they use, such as intonation, politeness, and body language. This will likely give the student a more concrete understanding of how pragmatics will work in authentic contexts outside the classroom or real-life situation.
Okay, let's continue to the next topic. It's about genre and genre analysis. So, what is genre? Genres are ways in which people get things done through their use of spoken and written discourse. A genre, also known as a kind of a text to get things done. Written genre often follows structured formats, while spoken genre may be more flexible and content dependent. For the example of spoken genre are academic lectures, speeches, and casual conversations, while for the written genres are academic essays, lab reports, emails, advertisement, etc. So, why is genre important? Genres are important because they give writers, filmmakers, and musicians a set of expectations to work with. They help creators know how to structure their work, and they help audience understand what they are engaging with. For example, when we watching a horror movie, we expect a suspense, fears, and perhaps some supernatural elements. In discourse studies, genre is not just about the structure of the text, but how language functions within a social context. Partridge, 2009, argues that genres help us understand how language serves specific social purposes and how it is shaped by social practices. Furthermore, genre is an essential concept in discourse studies because it helps organize communications into recognizable forms. Each genre has its norms, which helps convey the intended message effectively. Genres are closely tied to discourse communities, groups of people who share knowledge, values, and communicative practices. A discourse community will often have specific genres that members use to communicate with one another. For example, academic communities use genres like journal articles, conference papers, and research proposals to communicate their ideas and findings within their field. Genre change through time. The example of genre change can be seen in the way the internet has influenced existing forms of the communications, such as internal office memos, and has introduced new forms of communication such as internet chat rooms, blogs, and online discussion forums. The introduction of new technologies can also bring with it new genres, such as the way mobile phones have introduced the new genre of text messaging. Okay, next we continue to the next topic is genre analysis. Genre analysis is the study of how texts are structured according to their genre. It examines not only the form and the structure but also the purposes of the text and how it functions in its specific social context. This analysis is crucial for understanding how meaning is created and communicated within a specific genre. For example, analyzing research article may reveal common sections like abstract, literature review, methodology, and result, and also conclusions. Genre analysis looks deeper into how language and structure are used to fulfill the genre's purposes. This helps in understanding the conventions and deviations within a specific discourse. So, why we study genre? Studying genre and genre analysis helps in both producing and interpreting discourse more effectively. It is particularly useful in academic and professional settings. And understanding genre helps us write or speak more effectively for different audience and purposes. And analyzing genre provides insight into how and why texts are constructed in specific ways. The last is genre analysis can reveal cultural norms and expectations in communications. Okay, the next subtips is steps in genre analysis. The first one is consider what is already known about the particular genre. This includes knowledge of the situational and cultural context in which it occurs as well as any convention that are typically associated with the genre. For information on this, we can go to existing literature such as guidebooks and manuals as well as seek practitioner advice on the particular genre. The second one is refine the analysis by defining the speakers or writers of the text, the audience of the text, and their relationship with each other. We also need to consider the purpose of the text. We should think about the network of the text that surround the genre as well as identify the subject matters of the text and how this relates to the context of the text. The last one is select the collection of the text we wish to examine. Bata 1993 suggests that taking a few randomly chosen texts for exploratory investigations, a single typical text of the detailed analysis on a larger sample of the text if we wish to investigate a few specific features. Okay, the example of genre analysis. The first one is genre. The genre is research article and the structure is abstract, introduction, literature review, methodology, result, and conclusions, and the language is formal, technical, vocabulary, or passive voice. The last one is purpose. The purpose of this genre is to present new research finding to an academic audience. So here a research article is broken down into structural components and typical language use. The purpose of such articles is to share research findings, so the tone is formal and the content is organized methodically.
That is all from our video materials about pragmatics and language teacher, genre and genre analysis. Thank you very much for your attention and see you next time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye bye.